Hello everyone, and welcome back to the layout. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Dash 840 CW from Overland Brass. It's an HO scale model. I believe it was made in 1994. This is one of them deals where I never really got the chance to see much actual brass Overland stuff in real life, and I've always been very, very curious about it. It's always way out of my price range generally and what I'm willing to spend. And kind of opportunity arose, and I got a chance to pick up this unit here for a very, very good deal. And today, I kind of want to go ahead and share with you guys like what's the deal with them for everybody that maybe hasn't gotten a chance to see these and is curious about them like I am, because I know there's a lot of folks like me that aren't going to spend the big bucks to buy one of these. So when the opportunity came up again to pick one up cheap, I took it. And this model does have a few flaws, but we'll get to that when we start looking it over. But either way, let's take a look at this model and see what's the deal with these Overland Brass models. All right, let's go ahead and get this started here with our Dash 8. As you guys can see, this is the more rectangular shape Overland box. I think they started these sometimes in the early 90s, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm not an expert, as I've already kind of mentioned here. So, as you guys can kind of see here, we got our first sign of trouble. Part of the way I got this locomotive as a deal was the front coupler. I believe the screw was messed up or something, that the coupler was not able to be put on there. So now these Overland boxes, they have like this foam deal in here, and then you have your inner cradle deal that holds the model. And this is a pretty good design considering that these were done in 94. This is pretty good for the time, kind of whole way they did this, where you got your cardboard piece in the middle kind of hold the truck, and all your pieces around the side to kind of pad it as well. But there's our Dash 8. Let's go ahead and take a look at it here. All right, so now let's take a little bit of a closer look at this model here. And as you guys can see, we've got all of our little MU hoses, air hoses, coupler cut bar, the little stuff you expect to see. These from the factory from Overland did not have ditch lights, which would be correct for the 6100 as delivered, as well as the other numbers in this run. They didn't get ditch lights till around 93 or 94, I want to say, is when they started appearing. But this model, as you guys can tell, the detail looks absolutely awesome. All of this is little brass pieces. There's no plastic, no nothing on here. Even the little chain deal here that is goofed up. But there's a little door handle on the door. I mean, just really, really nice wire detail. The cab looks really, really sharp here. Now, as we look at the side of our cab here, this should show up a little bit in the camera. There's a little bit of paint chippage here. And I want to give a bit of a quick disclaimer. I did buy this model used. It does have a few small issues with it. And that's part of the reason I got the deal on it I got. So we're going to kind of not take those into account on this and just kind of take a look. I mean, things like a little paint chip, that's not a big deal, because if I end up putting sound in this and weathering it, that's going to disappear anyway. But as we look at this model, I mean, the whole body is brass. And as you guys can see, all this little side detail and everything. It's very, very faint. You have to get it in the light on an angle like this to pick it up. This is like a real little grill there in the side. That's pretty nice to see. That's kind of cool that they have those little grills. And of course, all these up here are see-through as well. Now, this does have a full cab interior. Unfortunately, it is loose in there. One of the issues with this model. But if we go ahead and we take a look at our bottom here and look at our trucks, these really, really look sharp because they have the individual gear tower deals for the to make it look like what the heck's the word I'm looking for here, guys? The traction motors. And we'll get to like the whole Overland drive system later on when we pull this apart. But overall, it's a pretty sharp looking model. The decaling kind of looks a little It's probably because it's from '94 and this was top of the line back then. But when you look at like this quality logo, it does look a little bit wonky. And some of our finer decals are very hard to read. Some are just literally squares like right here and right here. That's a bit of a bummer, but we could always fix that later. As we come back here to the backs, you can see our brake chain deal is gone back here. I'll have to fix that and replace that. But another really cool part about these, I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera, but you can see through this whole back here on these, which is really, really cool. Again, we'll go ahead and look at our rear pilot here. Got a little piece of foam stuck in there from the packaging, of course. And we have the little jewel lights and the marker lights. This does have lights, but I don't believe they work. So that'll be a problem we'll have to sort out eventually there as well. But overall, just a really, I mean, for a 30-year-old model, it still really looks excellent. I think would stand with any plastic model built today. Another minor issue we have here is our one handrail stanchion appears to have popped loose. We'll have to put that back with a little glue there when we get to it. But overall, just a really, really nice looking model, honestly. I mean, for as old as this is, it still looks absolutely excellent. So let's go ahead and let's check out some of the more standards and operations based stuff. All right, so we got our scale turned on here. Let's go ahead and see what this puppy weighs here. I got 18.5 ounces. I mean, it feels pretty hefty. It's definitely got some good weight to it. And when we get to the part where we open this up later and take a look at its guts, we'll see what we have room to even add possibly more weight to one of these. But 18.5 ounces is pretty hefty. All right, let's go ahead and check our wheel gauge now to see what this looks like here with this unit. It looks pretty good right there to me. That looks good. That also looks pretty good. 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 And good. All right, let's take it up over to the layout now. All right, so we got the locomotive over here. Now, I want to note I did just clean the track here just to make sure I give this thing as much of a good chance as I can for it to operate well. So let's go ahead and see how this unit moves in forward and reverse here on DC power. Let's just see what we got here. All right, so overall it moves pretty smooth. A little bit noisy, but not too bad. That's mainly a motor noise I'm hearing, and I think it would quiet down if you had DCC added to one of these. So now let's go ahead and head over to the workbench and check out the inside workings of one of these and see how exactly they, how they're put together, how they pick up power, what kind of motor, all that fun stuff. All right, so we're over here at the workbench now, and what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and start off by taking a look at our bottom here. You can kind of see our truck assembly there and everything. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to figure out how these are assembled. And usually the best place I always like to start when I'm taking a locomotive apart is by popping the couplers off. In this case, we were kind of fortunate because the front one is MIA right now. Um,
But we're going to start off by pulling the coupler box out and making sure that that's all clear because you could, when you look at the bottom of these, you could see where the coupler box would overhang and prevent the frame from coming out of the shell there. So the next part I'll be doing here is there's going to be 4 screws that will be holding on the fuel tank, and we're going to go ahead and pop all those off here as well. All right, so in here we got a little bit of a close up here on our uh, trucks here, and of course it kind of blurred up on me, of course, when I recorded this, but as you guys can tell, like this Overland drive here, the one thing I'm kind of weirded out by is they use like a piece of copper wire to pick up power from the inside of the wheels, and that to me doesn't seem very stout. Now this locomotive did run very well. You know, it did go forward and reverse just fine on the layout. Um, but I just feel like that's not going to do very well over the long run trying to pick up track power. And if any of you out there have dealt with Overland units before and you maybe have a better way of picking up track power from the wheels, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear it. I've got a few ideas I might try out just to see if they'll work on another Overland unit I have that does not run very well. Um, but you know, it also here we're these screws have a very, very small head on them, and they are brass, so you have to be very careful when you're pulling these out. You know, make sure you find the right size bit to shuffle them out here. And as you guys can tell, I'm having a bit of a struggle here trying to get the right size um, screwdriver bit here. And then it dawns on me, I've done batteries in a few of my cell phones before, and with those, they always come with these little like micro screwdrivers. And I had that moment right now in the video here where I realized, hey, wait a minute, I've got a few of those laying around. I can pop one of them out and it should be the right size. And of course it was. So, little tip there if you do any work on your own cell phones, you have some of these smaller, really small screwdrivers, they come in handy here. But we're gonna go ahead and we take these 4 screws out. Now you'll notice a project like this, I get a little bit weird, and I like to lay out the screws so that I make sure I put them back in the same exact place they came out of if I can. That way I don't have to worry about a screw not fitting in the right spot or something. I was fairly confident that all these screws were the same when I started taking this apart, but you never really know. And especially with something that was like a handmade one-off kind of thing like these brass models were, you never could be too careful with that. So I always try to lay out my screws in the order they came in. And if you it's kind of hard to see here because I pulled that tank out really quick, but there's a weight in the bottom of that tank. Now we can actually see the bottom of our can motor here. This is a Bueller can motor is what it says on there, Bueller. And right now I'm trying to find the next set of screws to take out here, and there's 2 of them here right past the trucks, and they are in the worst possible spot here. They are just past the end of the truck. You gotta kinda have the truck a little bit crooked to get your screwdriver in there to pull them out. Now, luckily, using this smaller size screwdriver, you can kind of get in there a little bit better. It's just hard to get in there and get it. And as you guys can see, I gotta try and get the tweezers in there to yank that sucker out of there. Um, some of them they had a little bit of magnetism to them with the screwdriver, and I could just pull them out with the screwdriver, but not all of them. That's just kind of the way she goes with this kind of stuff here. It's kind of luck of the draw, really. Sometimes you could have them come out with magnetism. Other times that those tweezers with the angled end are worth their weight in gold. If you don't have a set of those out there, guys, get them. They are so handy. But we got to do that in the front and back. So outside of the couplers, these are pretty much held together by 8 screws. You got the 4 on the fuel tank and the 2 on each end to hold the frame together. So fairly simple to take these apart. Pretty decent design. I mean, it's obviously not as simple as some of these plastic models you deal with today, but I would fair to say that this was actually a little bit easier than trying to take apart, say, an Atlas where like the plastic's holding the shell to the frame. So that was kind of nice with this was it was fairly simple to get apart with that. So now our motor and drive should come right off our shell, and it's going to give us a little look at our inner workings here. Now these are very, very simple. I mean, given they were made in 1994, there's our little clip for our lighting that doesn't work that we got to unhook there. But here is our Overland motor and drive right here. This little tiny can motor with the little um, Little weight deals there. You see it spinning. Look at that go. It's got the little spin going. You kind of see how it goes to a gear tower that goes down to the center wheel set, which then has the drive shafts that go to each individual wheel set. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. Definitely interesting to say the least. But not a whole heck of a lot going on in here. Very, very, very bare bones minimum stuff in here. So that was kind of interesting to me. I would have thought these would have been a little bit more to them than this, but overall, it's a very simple setup with them. Now, the nice part about this is it gives you a lot of room for if you wanted to add sound and lighting and all that. There's plenty of room to add a keep alive and all that fun stuff. And especially when we look up inside our shell here, you kind of see the inner workings of one of these. You could see where I found that cab piece that was loose here. I'm about to show you. Um, it looks like it was attached with like this perforated piece of brass that was bent, and of course that broke. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna get that to go back in there, but I gotta do the LED lighting before I put that back in there permanently. Um, so that's gonna sit off to the side for now. But that's what I'm looking at right here is just trying to figure out how in the world I'm gonna reattach that. That's gonna be a bit of a challenge there to get that to sit in there and sit right. But it is a nice little cab interior. A lot more detailed than what you'd get in like a Bachmann or an Atlas Dash 8 as far as the interior goes. It's probably, I don't know if I would put it on par with like the your scale trains and Rapido cabs of today, but I would say it is a nice looking little deal to have in there, especially again considering that this is a 1994 model here. So this was like cutting edge for the time. And of course my one window fell out, which we'll worry about that later. We're gonna put that cab window in at a later time. We'll do that with the little canopy glue, hold that right in there. And then right here, I'm kind of looking at the shell. I want to see if the sill comes off of the body at all. And I'm just kind of looking at how it's attached, just because I get curious like that, and just kind of see what the deal's going on here. Um, Now, the one thing I'm not really sure how I feel about is you got all those tabs where like the fuel tank secures that. That's going to make it a little bit tricky to do our lighting. There's a really good close-up shot of my arm there as I try to take a screw out. And anywho, that's going to make it a little tricky. I might have to mount the speaker inside the shell, but I don't know yet. I don't quite know what my plan's going to be yet just with this. I really want to do a DCC and sound install on this and add the LED lighting and all that. But honestly, I've never really worked with a brass model before. So this is going to be kind of uncharted territory for me here. So, you guys tell me down below. Do you guys want to see me try and figure this out? Would you guys want to watch a video of me doing DCC and sound in one of these and lighting and kind of learn my way through it? Would you guys want to see that or not? Let me know in the comments. You know, uh, Also let me know if you know anything about these brasses, any tricks or tips as far as tuning them up and making them run even better. I mean, this one runs pretty good right out of the box, but I would like to go through and lubricate the axles and wheel sets and all that stuff and make sure everything's 100% good to go before I start running it and doing all the work to it. So if any of you have any tips or tricks on that, I would really, really appreciate that. It's kind of hard to find info. It seems like some people that work on brass stuff don't like to tell you anything unless you pay them. And well, I'm not paying somebody to tell me on this. I didn't pay that much for this model, and if I have to figure it out myself, I'll figure it out myself the hard way. But um, I would appreciate any advice anybody's got on these. And also go ahead and put down there in the comments what you guys' thoughts on these are. Are these, do you guys? I when I look at one of these, I just think they still look incredible. Even 30 years later, I just think the way the bodies look on them and the detail, they still look excellent. They are slightly dated, especially in like the side detail with like your doors and your door latches and all that stuff on the sides of the shell. I think it's a little bit dated looking, obviously, because it's very, very shallow and thin, and it's very hard to see. But just the overall like shapes and lines of it, and there's something about when you pick one of these up, and it just has that weight to it that it feels like a very solid quality model that it's just kind of cool to me. As somebody that never could have got something like this back when they were new, because one, I was 3 years old at the time, and two, they were very, very expensive back then. It's just really cool to have one of these, and I don't know, guys. You guys give me your thoughts and opinions down there. Just tell me what you think. Are these still cool? Were these never cool in the first place? Do they suck? I don't know. You go online, you read comments, and you get people that are saying, "Oh, they run like trash," and then you have people that say they run like a Swiss watch, and I don't know. I'm kind of on both sides because I do have, like I mentioned earlier, I have another Overland model that I does not run very well at all, and I'm gonna have to do some work to. And then this one, as you guys saw, I put it on the track and it goes in forward and reverse pretty easily. So, as always, guys, I want to thank you all for watching. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future on this, if you want to see this in the future. And if you guys would like to see any more stuff on these Overland Brass models, like if you guys want to see some more on some different models, I've got an ST60M and an ST50 as well as a pair of the elusive ST38 and MT6 sets. So if you guys would be interested in just seeing these kind of like what's the deal with them videos on them, let me know down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. But as always, guys, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.